Today we're talking about giant bosses.
Yeah, we're big boys.
Big boys.
Big boys.
Kingdom Hearts has its fair share of these enormous encounters, for better or worse. Of course, these bosses are all about spectacle. They exist to inspire awe, to make you say, wow, this is so epic. They don't usually have amazing boss design. We're not talking about some fancy schmancy data fights here, and that's okay. They don't need to be technically great, but they do need to be fun. So that's the question today: which Kingdom Hearts large-scale bosses are the best? I pose this not only to myself, but to you, the audience, so feel free to write your thoughts in the comment section below. Personally, I've always been quite lenient on this series' oversized offerings. If I'm having fun and it achieves a sense of scale and spectacle, I'm happy. That's why I quite like the final boss encounters of KH1 and 2, which include some giant boss action. These are the World of Chaos and Xemnas' Dragon, which is of course first found idling in an area named the World of Nothing. Very different gameplay styles, but the names and designs mirror each other, showing the duality between Heartless and Nobodies. The World of Chaos is a fleshy battleship that you dismantle piece by piece, and it's directly attached to the show-off Jimbro Ansem. The inverse of this is a big artificial dragon that you cripple via a gummy-like rail shooter segment, and then throw some buildings at it to get to fantasy cosplay Xemnas. Not everyone likes these encounters, but I've got something of a fondness for them. I will admit that the World of Chaos feels a bit slow, and the face part is a spammy and boring fight, but my god is that intro something special. And I actually like the on-rail segment of the dragon fight. I do see the criticism of it hurting the momentum of the final gauntlet, but I don't think it's that bad. Mostly, I'm just impressed by the effort that went into creating such huge spectacles in games developed in the early 2000s for PS2 hardware. Oh, and pour one out for the cut content Xemnas bosses, King and Kentaurus. These seem to have been ditched in favour of the dragon, but I like to imagine how they might have played out. On a much smaller scale is the Darkseid, the green hill zone of Kingdom Hearts, because they can't seem to let this guy go. Now, I know Darkseid isn't all that big, but I feel like I should mention it anyway. This video is going to cover a spectrum of what could be defined as giant. For what it's worth, I think the first two encounters in KH1 work very well, especially the dream one, the very first one. It's intimidating, foreboding, and even offers some technical play by running up the arm to hit the head or chest and gain some tech points. KH1's close-up camera and smaller range of movement is what makes this fight work on a spectacle level. Evidently, put Darkseid in KH3 and you just feel kinda bad for the guy. Being wet or pink doesn't hide the fact that you're old, and you can quote that. They feel smaller because Sora can move around quicker and further, although I will say 0.2 does Darkseid's pretty well. Now KH4 looks like it's going to have a properly big, invisible looking elder Darkseid going all kaiju in Shibuya. I talked about Darkseid, so I should mention Twilight Thorn, the Emerald Hill of Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, it's alright. Perhaps it's best Twilight Thorn doesn't get overused like Darkseid. It can feel a lot more special that way. Although I have to say, a duo fight with both of them attacking you at once could be kinda interesting. Titans! As their name implies, these are some real big boys. In KH1 we had a great fight against the Ice Titan, and a terrible one for his rocky brother. Well, it's not anything offensive, but it's about as boring as a recoded cutscene marathon. In KH3, however, the Rock Titan has a glow-up and a blow-up. It's much bigger now, and the fight is actually good, wow. Dodge some rocks, little mob fight interlude, climb up again, and then...
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
The Deep End remix is so good here. The fight is cinematic as hell, especially with the Gathering Storm, and genuinely one of my favourite bosses in KH3. It is pure video game. Ice Titan, unfortunately, is no longer a secret boss, so he must rein himself in and fight alongside Melty Man. It's an okay fight, nothing special. Insult them with the carousel ride if you like. Probably better than that fake Ice Colossus that Hades uses in BBS. That was weird. Tornado Titan is the real MVP here, with a pretty cool final boss for KH3's opening world. And I feel bad when I hit him because he looks so sad about it. Aww. Sharing the same piece of music, KH3's Kraken boss is a gimmick fight, but it's not a bad one. It's nice that Luke's had snapped his fingers to give us an encounter I wasn't expecting, given that the Kraken's supposed to be dead, washed up on a beach by this point. And hey, you gotta love shredding that health bar with raging cannons. KH2 had no titans outside of a cutscene, but it did have a Hydra, and with the size and multiple-headed nature of this boss, liberal use of reaction commands were used to pull it off, and I think that's fair enough. That's not the only time either, as the MCP is pretty bloody huge, so it takes a laser to the core to deal with this rogue code. Even Sark gets to be a giant man. Now, KH1 loved its giant Disney characters. We have Genie Jafar. The spectacle is there, but quite literally out of reach. Magic can work, but let's be real, it's best to stick to lamp smacking. But, you know, I actually kind of like KH2's Jafar. It's not amazing, but at least you get to hit the guy, although lore-wise maybe attacking the lamp does make more sense. All I can say is his death in Return of Jafar scared me as a kid, I'm not ashamed to admit that. KH2's version is much bigger than its predecessor. Now he's a genuine giant. It's a bit stupid that an all-powerful genie can be defeated by making him dizzy. I can't deny that, but it is Kingdom Hearts. Recom's Genie Jafar is pretty much the same as KH1, except you actually have to think, because there's card combat and he's more aggressive, with the beam attack especially. In KH1 he only did that when he parried his arm. But damn it, that's enough about Jafar. Big Mommy Ursula is the other way around, a reasonably cool fight in KH1 with actual danger to it, memorable quotes, and the terrifying idea of being vored by her, but then in KH2 it's just the least worst original song. When I was a kid, this KH1 fight scared me, and much of the time I waited for Donald and Goofy to wake up and chip away at her, because I thought going to her head was instant death. Simpler times. DDD's version is alright. I mean, it's a tutorial, she's basically standing in for Darkseid here, and then Recom has a similar thing of no swimming, but it's a bit more of a proper fight. You have to attack her tentacles. Big Daddy Oogie is basically an episode of Dr. Pimple Popper, and the boss here is platforming more than anything else. I like it well enough. It's a bit spooky when he sends Health Drain and Darkness at you. Unlike the previous two, this isn't even in the film. The developers just wanted a second phase and decided, fuck it, let's merge him with his house and cover him in globs. And you know what, I can respect that. Great Satan's ass cheeks, it's Chernobog. Perhaps a little repetitive, but what a spectacle of a final Disney boss this is. It's a perfect way to lead up to Ansem, and actually quite dangerous if you're a first time player who ignores the existence of Aero. This is the only Chernobog fight to exist, I won't hear otherwise. BBS has an interesting fight against Monstro himself in the Mirage Arena. It's not the worst if you knock him out with convenient barrels and ride that tongue to victory, but sometimes he destroys all the little platforms and that's quite annoying. It wastes time, and whenever the timer runs out he swallows you for a mob fight round, so not one of the greatest bosses either. Speaking of Monstro, Dream Drop Distance has two fights with this lobster nightmare in the Prankster's Paradise world. Well, they're two different Dream Eaters. The one Riku fights isn't that big, but Sora has to contend with this massive pinchy lad. It's a bit awkward at times, but still a lot better than some of the other DDD offerings. I'm looking at you, Camantis. Oh, we can't forget KH2's Ground Shaker. This whole savannah area exists to accommodate it. The boss is alright when you're pressing KH2's favourite button and hitting its eyes. I'm not a fan of fighting the monkey on top though. I'm not too keen on it, but appreciate the effort into making a huge boss that wasn't on rails or in space. I want to give an honourable mention to the Spectre behind Marluxia in his final fight in Rechain. You don't really fight it as much as you fight Marluxia, and it's just helping him with some big gusts. But I love the design, and it is pretty damn tall, and maybe something to do with his sister, I don't know. Shion in her final boss says screw it and grows to a massive size. It's certainly a spectacle with that central station clock tower just behind her. Maybe I'll actually play this game one of these days.
Get it?
I would have Kurt Zisa as my favourite, but I'm not sure it's big enough for this list. It's a large Heartless for sure, but if I include that, I'd maybe have to include other similar ones like Grim Guardianess from KH3. That said, I suppose Skull is quite big, or at least as far as wolves go. It's definitely a giant wolf. I think we could include him. The fight sure does have spectacle, buckets of it, and while there are camera issues and some usual KH3 boss design quirks, it's still quite a fun one, and you gotta love the reference to a real world myth. And then Catastrochorus, it's a big dino, but not huge. I suppose this is the tricky thing with this discussion. I mean, for example, the King of Toys is pretty big, but doesn't really feel like a giant boss to me, partly thanks to Sora's ridiculous expanded moveset in KH3, and also because its size isn't really the focus. With a boss like Kurt Zisa, it feels big in KH1's context, and through the camera work, but it wouldn't feel as big in another game. Whereas take something like KH3's Titans, they're literally titans, their size is their main gimmick. And hell, some of the biggest bosses are technically out in the ocean of stars, with the likes of the Omega Machine or Schwarzgeist. Many of these gummy bosses dwarf the gummy ship, which itself can fit multiple people inside. My point is, this is quite an undefined and vague category, so I wanted to leave it as an open-ended discussion, rather than do a top 10 list or ranking. What's defined as giant may depend on the situation, the game, or the individual's opinion. I'm not going to start getting the measuring tape out, this video is more based on feeling. And that's why I'm metaphorically passing the mic to you in the comments. What is a giant boss to you, and which ones are the best? I think for me it has to be KH1's Ice Titan. But that's all from me, thanks for watching, bye bye.